My god, it's been a year since this video. Hi, my name is Peach, let me not waste your time. Today I'll be showing you how to make the perfect slide transition in DaVinci Resolve. If you haven't seen my AMV Basics tutorial already, I suggest that you go watch that because it goes over the basics on how to do this stuff. In this video, I'm just going to go more in depth on what I do to make it look even better. Alright, let's get started. Alright, first off, I have my clips like this. I'm just going to compound clip them so these clips can be contained in a little timeline so I can do some twixting later if I want to. I'm just going to go here and then right click and then go up to new compound clip, or I have it bind to C where I can just do it really easily, just like this and like that. Alright, and I'm just going to shorten these down to about 1 second each, just so I can do this really quickly, just like that. Alright, and now we can start doing our slides. So what I'd like to do with my slides is I'm going to add a adjustment clip. Don't know how to do that. You go to your effects library, you go down to toolbox, you go to effects, and then you go to adjustment clips. I already have adjustment clips in my media pool over here, so I'm just going to grab this one and put it along our couple clip like this. I'm just going to duplicate this by holding Alt and dragging it over to the next clip, just like that. And then we're going to go into our first clip like this. We first are going to add a transform node. We can grab from the little arrow transform thing right here from the toolbar that's here, and then we could have this node connected to our timeline. And if it's not connected already, you can just grab this line, connect it to the yellow input, a little triangle right there, and then you connect this square to the yellow input over here, and then we have our transform connected. Then, since it's the start of our clip and we're going to transition to the left, we're going to transition to our next clip. I'm going to go to the end, where the playhead goes to the end over here. I'm going to keyframe at our center value right here. I'm going to go to the left 5 times. So we're going to be 5 frames back, and then we're going to keyframe again, and then we're going to go click this arrow to go back to the original keyframe, and then we're going to move our footage to the left or right, or whichever way we want to slide. I like to go to the left, so it goes like a little swipe to the right, and I would go about 25% to the left. And you can just do this by typing 0.25 for this, and this will bring this is 25% of the screen that's going away, so we have something like that. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add mirrored edges. So go to edges down here, click the canvas and hit mirrored, and now we have our mirrored edges like this. And if you play it back, you can see that it's not very, it doesn't slide very nicely, so we're going to need to adjust these splines. So how do we do that? We're going to go up to the spline tab that's right up here, click this, and this little graph is going to pop up, and then we're going to click displacement under our little transform node here, and that'll be our what we just keyframed. So that's our first keyframe, and that's our last keyframe. As you can see here, if we click this right here, we can zoom to fit, so both of our keyframes are visible in our spline graph. We're going to highlight both keyframes like this, so we're going to hit S, and then we're going to adjust our line by holding the handle like this, and then bringing it down to something that looks like this. And then we have start of our slide. We can even make this a little bit looser. It's not that much. All right, that looks pretty good to me. Then we're gonna go back to our timeline, then we're gonna go to the next clip, which is this one here. We're gonna click our media in, we're gonna grab our transform node, then we're gonna go to the beginning, we're gonna keyframe from right here, and then we're gonna keyframe right here, and then we're gonna go to the end, keyframe here again. Let's go back to our first spot. So if we slid to the left, so we moved our footage to the left, we need to start our footage from the right like this, about 25% again, so this time will be 0.75, and then we can put mirrored edges on like this. We're going to open our spline graph, we're going to click displacement, we're going to get our graph here, we're going to select it, we're going to hit S, and then we're going to make our curve just like this, something like that, maybe even a little bit more steeper, something like that would work. And then we're going to slide this like just like that. Now we have something like this, which is pretty good, but we can improve it a little bit more. So I'm just going to raise all these adjustment clips, and next I'm going to add a shake. If you don't know how to add shakes, I have plenty of tutorials on it. My favorite to use is the expression shake. I'll link it in the top right now. And so I'm just going to remake one of my expression shakes right now with a little style I've been doing lately. So I'm going to grab another adjustment clip, I'm going to put it below here, and I'm going to extend it. I'm going to right click and open that in Fusion, get rid of this, and then I am going to, you're going to do space, and then you type in transform, and you want to add the one that does not have the XF at the end, just that one right there, or this one right there. Make sure you got it, hit add, and then put it on our line like this. And then we are going to go and use a modifier called anim curves. Anim curves allows you to put a preset graphs, and one of the preset graphs that they have is an elastic graph, which gives you a nice little shake. So what we're going to do is we're going to right click the position Y, go down to modify with, we're going to go to anim curves, and we're going to go into the modifiers tab, and we can adjust these anim curve settings. So what we want to do is make sure that the source is on duration, just like that. We're going to pick our curve to easing, and we're going to put our in out, we're going to put the out to elastic like this. And if we play it back, you can see This is how our shake is. So the way that our anim curves works is that the offset is usually what our value is going to be at our first frame. So first frame is at 0, and then you can see that everything is normal because for this value to in the middle will be 0, and then the scale will be what amount of numbers are going to be added to the offset. So at the end it's going to add 0.5, and then we'll end up at a value of 0.5, just like that. So if we want the shake to end up in the middle, and to offset this by the same amount up here but in the negative. So basically we want to have it end up in the middle, we have to do negative 0.5. So it's going to start at a value of negative 0.5, and then it's going to scale up by 0.5, and that will end up with 0 because you have negative 0.5 plus 0.5, and that equals 0. So as you can see, we have something like this, and it will end up at 0. But the way that we can make it better is if we just put an expression, and it'll be very easy to adjust our shake. So we hit equal sign in our value box right here, and then it'll bring up this expression thing right here. And so we just take our little plus sign, and then we're going to drag it to the numbers of our scale like this, and then we're going to put in front of the scale, we're going to put the minus sign. So now it's going to take that value and it's going to be negative. So however we adjust our scale, it'll end up at 0 every single time. So the way I'm going to put the strength I'm going to put my shake at is going to be 0.05 for this one, and it just has a little scale like that. And then we can adjust our time scale in order to adjust our speed. So right now it's pretty fast, and if we adjust our time speed down to 0.25, that's where I've been putting it recently, and you can see how looser our scale is. I might raise it up a little bit right here to like 0.35, but you can see it's much slower compared to having it at 1, which would be like that. So let's keep it at 0.35. And if you want to see the actual graph for our anim curve, you can go to our spline graph, and then we could click the position Y. Don't hit the lookup, hit the position Y, and hit Control to fit, and you can see our actual spline graph like this. And so if we adjust this value to this, you can see there's a lot more waves that the shake needs to go to. But if we put it down to our 3.5, it only has to do a couple until it hits the end of our wave over here. So that is how you use anim curves, and this is the shake that I like to do recently. So all right, now we have something like this, and then we're just going to duplicate this shake so it goes over here as well. But now that looks pretty good. I like the motion of that. So another thing we can add is a blur. So if you don't know how to add a blur, I have a tutorial. I'll link it up here as well. That's where I get my special blur that I'm going to use and show you, which is the defocus gamma. So I'm going to add another adjustment clip, and this is already about 12 frames long. So I'm going to shorten it to about, let's go 8 frames. That could be good. We're going to open this in the Fusion page. Make sure we click this, right click, and then open in Fusion. All right, here we go. And then we're gonna shift space at a defocus gamma. If you don't have defocus gamma, you don't want to get it, you can use the defocus node. It'll have similar controls. And so what we're gonna do is we're gonna keyframe our defocus size like this. We're gonna bring it up all the way to 10, and then at the end we're gonna click the keyframe here, and then we're gonna bring it down to 0. Then we're gonna bring up this image gamma to, instead of 5, we're gonna put 6. And then we're going to put these lens type to either one of these shapes right here instead of the circle. So that's what it looks better. And then lastly, we're going to open our spline, and then we're going to do the same thing we've been doing, a curve like this, and then we can just duplicate this over here. Another thing we can add is exposure. So I'm gonna add another adjustment clip. Let's make it about the same size or a little bit longer, doesn't matter as much. And actually I'm gonna put it underneath the blur instead of having it on top of the blur. It's like that. We're gonna go inside it, right click, open in Fusion. All right, here we go. Now we're gonna add a brightness and contrast node. It should be this one right here. And then if we can either keyframe the gain, which does the highlights of the picture, or we can do the brightness, which does everything. And I think I'm gonna do brightness for this one. So we can do it like a 0.1, keyframe that, and bring it to 11, and then get again, and then bring it down to 0. And then I'll do another ease out graph that we usually do like this. And then now we have a nice little flash. And then let's duplicate this over here. All right, that looks pretty good. One more thing we're gonna add on top of everything else is a 2-frame adjustment clip. I'm just gonna put this up here, and then we're gonna put it in between the little cut that we have here in between our clips. So it goes like that. I'll right click it, go into that side, go inside the Fusion page. And for this one, we're gonna add a directional blur. We're gonna add that one right there, and then we're gonna bring it to the left because we are sliding to the right. So we want that streaks to happen over there, and just that will add a little bit more motion, so it gives us a little bit more value, and it looks pretty good. I also added a CC, or color correction. And I have a, if you want to know how to make a color correction, I have a tutorial. I'll link it at the top right again. I'm just gonna add one of my preset CCs that I'm gonna be putting in my paid pack soon. All right, that looks pretty good. All right. So what else can we do to improve this? I think we could twix our clips. If you don't know how to twixter, again, top right corner, twixter and retime our clips. I'm not going to be showing how to do it because it'll be too long to do, but I'll teach you in that one, in that recent tutorial. It's been pretty good. So I'm just going to add my twixter clips right now. All right, now we have everything and it looks pretty good. I'm just gonna add a little scale out at the beginning so we can actually see it on a nice fluid motion, like how we would see it in an edit, instead of just having it bob like this and then go with our slide. All right, now we have our final slide. You can see that we might have a little bit of motion tile because of our shape, and that could be fixed very easily just by zooming into the clip, just zooming in on one of our transform nodes just a tad bit, and so it will avoid showing all that motion tile that we usually are trying to avoid showing, just like that. And yeah, that should be everything in our slide transition. And this is what I think looks the best when doing a perfect slide. Before I go, I'd like to discuss when I would usually use a slide transition. It's usually either if it makes sense in the scene or if it helps to build the atmosphere, so like you know where things are in the scene. I don't know, I use the slides over here in order to go in the same direction, as well as when you're reading the text, it's easier to go from left to right instead of from right to left when you're reading. And then it also, this one helps build atmosphere. So these are two separate scenes and I just stitch them together so it looks like it makes sense why he should be pointing to the right with a gun, because he's over here. All right, for this next one, I just slid to the right because he is on the right side, and then I slid to the left because she's on the left side. And what's cool about this one is that just because I showed a tad bit of motion tile, but it kind of blends into her being there in the next scene. As I found out when it's going frame by frame, I thought it was pretty cool because it's kind of a little bit of a match cut, and that's just why it just goes a little bit so smooth to me anyway. And then for this one, we have to build the scene again, just her go to the right side, and then if you go to the left, he is also standing there, and it just makes sense why you would slide between those scenes. Here I have a slide and she's like already looking to this side where the slide is coming from, so I thought that would look pretty good. We have a zoom out here, and then now he's already looking towards this side, and then we could slide over here, and then it goes to Lloyd that's over here, and he's looking at her on the left side, and then we have another scene that's looking at Yor on the left side, so that just makes sense to go left and then right. And then for this one, we have a zoom out, and then all the momentum in the movement in the footage is going to the right side, so I might as well move everything to the right, so it's like it's pushing and it just guides everything to the right. It just flows very, very nicely. Here I do a slide over here. He's looking to the right and he's pointing also to the right, so it's kind of like mentally guiding your eyes to look towards the right side. And then when we go slide to the right, we see that Itsuki is over there. But yeah, those are some examples of when to use a slide. If any more questions or suggestions on what I should do in the future, please let me know down below in the comment section. If you'd like to join the Resolve AMV community Discord server, there's a link in the description, as well as my own server if you'd like to join. And with that, subscribe and have a good day.